Hi, welcome to the Foundation of My Color. I am your host, Rachel, highly favored Babineau. Today's guest is Mr. Charlie Jagneaux with the Clerk of Court's office. How you doing today, Mr.
Oh,
Charlie?
fine. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here. I like to tell my audience every time we get started that the foundation of my color is built on the foundation of the word. So, with that being said, let's just jump right into our topic today. We're going to be talking to you today about voting rights and how important it is for you to exercise your right to vote, especially um, blacks in the community, African American. It's so important for you guys to go out and exercise your right to vote. We had the Black Vote Matters organization on the show earlier during the election, and they came to you guys with the importance as well of how important it is to exercise your right to vote. But Mr. Charlie's here today to tell you as well how important it is for you to exercise your right to vote, and just give us a little more information about what's going on in this year's election. We have a runoff, and what's going on and how important it is for you to go out and vote. Mr. Charlie?
Well, like you said, it really is important because the vote is the foundation of our entire country. And as clerk of court, I'm in charge of training all the commissioners, the voting commissioners that you see in the polls. And first thing I tell them is exactly that. Without the work that they do, this country wouldn't have any legs to stand on. In other words, they're the basis of our entire democracy. The vote, every office depends on that. The courts depend on that. Law enforcement depends on that. So that's how important it is. And when we're talking about Black Votes Matter, and you know, as some people say, all votes matter, but
Yes.
in the Black community, traditionally, and you can look up the statistics, Black voters vote about, I want to say about 8% less as a group than do white voters. In other words, that turnout is about 8% less. And that makes a big difference for issues that concern Black voters. They need to, well, I shouldn't tell anybody what they need to do, but they should turn out 100%.
100%.
As much as they can, because they need to let their voices count, as does everybody, but especially that community.
Right. So we thank you so much for coming in and sharing that, because a lot of people don't realize that, during election season, political, I call it the political arena, it is so intense. We have so much going on in St. Andrew Parish when it comes to politics. So much. We just had a poor lady that got arrested for buying votes. They say she bought a vote on yesterday, which was horrible. I think she's in her 60s,
Well, it's alleged. Who knows?
Right, it's alleged. You're absolutely correct. So, but I just think that it was a horrific experience for a constituent that's out there. She's actually trying to get people to go out and vote. Now, allegedly, if she did that or not, it's wrong if she did. But I mean, if she was just trying to get people to go out and vote, well, it's an iffy situation.
But historically in St. Andrew Parish and throughout the country, I mean, everybody in the country points to Louisiana as being corrupt and all that stuff. But my belief is, can we be more corrupt than New Jersey, Chicago, where they had the mafia? We probably had our version of it, but it wasn't nearly as bad as that. And as far as vote buying, I think that is really an unusual situation. I don't think it happens as much as people tend to think
Right.
it does.
Right. I just think that it was just a mere coincidence. That's how I feel about it.
Who knows? I don't know the exact details.
Yeah.
But again, in the Black community and the white community, and the way I look at it, St. Andrew Parish in general, we have been divided up into congressional districts. We have 3 different congressmen to represent us. We have, I think, 4 or 5 state representatives, 2 or 3 senators that represent us. how in the world can we develop enough stroke in the Louisiana legislature to do anything that is substantial and will help St. Landry Parish when we're divided up and we don't have enough say in one person's district? I think Mr. Miller, Dustin Miller representative, is about the only representative whose district is entirely in St. Landry Parish.
Okay.
The others, I mean, the other representatives that we have share other parishes with that portion of St. Landry. So how much pressure can we put on those people to do what we need done and get legislation passed in Baton Rouge? And it all depends on turnout.
Right.
You know,
Right. And the turnout is very low.
well, it's low nationwide, and we shouldn't say it's that low in St. Landry Parish, but it averages about 54, 55%, maybe 60 in a governor's race, 65 at the most. Just think if we had 100% turnout and someone was running for governor, he'd sure visit St. Landry Parish a lot more than other people.
I bet he would. I know,
That's what I'm talking about.
So that's how important it is for the turnout for the African American community to go out and vote.
Hello.
And you know, I have to say this, Mr. Charlie, and it's not coming as a racial thing or anything like that, but for you to come in and say about how important it is for the African American community to go out and vote shows a lot about your character and what you stand for. It does, because that wouldn't happen, you know, too often.
Well, thank you very much.
So, you know, we appreciate that. And
But it means a lot to everyone. I mean, like I said, when you take it on a statewide basis and the legislative basis, that turnout, white and black, means a lot.
Right.
And especially for the black community, because you have, like I said, one representative who's black who represents a majority black district. I think it's 60, I want to say 66, 67% black and 30-something% white. But still, all those constituents need a voice.
right.
And if they all vote, it gives him a lot more stroke to do what needs to be done for us in the legislature.
So it's basically boiling down to the turnout of voters. We just need
it all
to go out
depends
and
on that.
exercise our right to vote. All races.
Exactly.
All races, but especially our African American community. So, you know, another issue we having over there right now is low, from what I gather, for early voting.
Well, this is a runoff election, and there's not as much excitement. For instance, in a year of a governor's race,
That's next year, right?
that's next November, correct?
Mm-hmm.
The governor's campaigns will spend so much money on television, radio, and get out the vote efforts that the turnout will be normally higher. But if you look at that at the numbers at the end of that election, the totals, the governors say might have a 75% turnout. The sheriff will have 65, 70. The clerk might have 60%, 59%. The assessor will have less. It goes, and they call that what they call drop off. In other words, people go in the polls, they want to vote for that particular person or that job that's important to them. The rest of the races don't seem as important, so the vote drops off. That doesn't mean, a lot of people misunderstand that as
Low turnout.
well, no, they misunderstand that as voter fraud. They don't.
Oh.
They think that every position on the ballot ought to have the same number of votes, and that's just not the case.
Right.
And that's just a natural thing.
And it makes sense. Let me tell you why. The young people now. So when we were speaking to a couple of young people, we was asking them, had they gone out and early vote? You know what they told us? We voted already. We voted last election. We're not going to vote again. I said, well, no, you have to go out and vote again, because that last election is just as important as, this election here is just as important as that last election.
Right.
Because right now, you have to vote for a mayor. You know, you voted your police chief in, but you have to vote for a mayor right now, and that's important. You have to vote for your city councilmen right now, and that's important. So, you know, they have issues, you know, within the community, but we need to let them know, please still go out and vote. Go out and vote.
Yeah.
I need you to go out and exercise your right to vote. I said it before when Black Voters Matters was in the studio, and I'll say it again. Go exercise your right to vote. It's important. They fought for you to vote, so go out and vote. And then Mr. Charlie here is telling you, I like to call him Mr. Charlie. His name is Charles Jagneaux, but I call him Mr. Charlie. Telling you to go out and vote. Please go out and vote. Please.
Because it's not over yet. And
it's not
and the
over.
mayor's position is one of the most important in the city.
It is. It's very important.
Yeah.
It's very important. I know we had a. I don't know. Do you want to touch on the issue we just had with the at the DA's office? If not, we can move on to something else.
No, that's fine. You know what happened. Mr. Ford was his I guess his tenure in office was in question because of some residence issues. Let's put it that way. So the district attorney filed a suit to take him out of office, and evidently they settled out of court.
Okay.
But he decided to resign from his position and the election. And what that did, and people don't understand yet, that doesn't throw it into another runoff. That declares Miss Delita Rubin, I think is her last name.
Right.
She's the winner. She's going to be the new councilman from that district.
So will she take office in January?
She'll take office in January 1st, like all the other council people.
Okay. Oh.
And you see what happens whenever a person is declared the winner, and the Secretary of State has declared her the winner of that, just like the other council races that is already decided, they send them what they call their commission.
Okay.
And they send them an oath of office. Then someone has to swear them in. I normally swear them in, or an attorney who's a notary public or a judge swears them in, and they'll be sworn in before the 1st. They don't take office, and their duties don't start until the 1st.
So have she been sworn in?
I don't think so, because the decision was just handed down, and the Secretary of State hadn't printed up and hadn't delivered her commission to her yet.
Okay, so let me ask you something. I know that's not your area. It would probably be a Secretary of State question. What makes that position different from the Miss Velma Hendricks? She died during election day. Her name was still on the ballot. They still voted, but then she passed away, and so they're going to have another election. So,
so
what's the difference?
What happened in Miss Kendrick's case? And she was a good friend of mine. She was really a nice
She was
person.
one of my, when I was at Eastern Star, she was the chapter we were named behind.
Okay.
Yes.
A very nice person. But so she passed away election day. The law says that they have to reopen qualifying.
Okay.
Because the election hadn't been decided. Had no one else qualified to run in that race, then the top vote getter, which was Miss Londerno, I think, would have been declared the winner.
Okay.
However, one or two other people qualified, so they had to have another election.
Okay.
And the winner, the top vote getter of that election, will be the mayor.
Okay. I know Mr. Charles Tyler had been questioning some issues about the deal with Ms. Rubin taking office, and they even discussed the getting the opinion back from the
Well, I spoke
Secretary.
to Mr. Tyler today, and I told him that's just the law that the Secretary of State is applying.
Okay. Okay.
That makes Ms. Rubin
The right.
Yeah,
It makes her the incumbent. Correct. Okay.
Yeah.
So well.
A lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
You don't want to talk about the redistricting fiasco?
Oh yes, let's get to that fiasco. So
I didn't say that. You did.
So early on in the year, we had the redistricting with the reapportion, they call it.
Well, yeah, and I'll explain that to you a little bit too. The U.S. Constitution declares that every 10 years there's a reapportionment to take into account population shifts throughout the country. And in Louisiana, it's the same thing. Our council is the group that votes on that. They have complete control of where the precincts are located. And in this case, this 10-year reapportionment, they have control over how the districts are configured. Now, they wanted to reduce the number of precincts to save money, but they reduced it down to 59. Nobody was really satisfied with that because a lot of people had to drive a long ways, distances to vote. Then what happened, they revisited it and increased, and now we have 95 precincts where we started at 92. However, there's a couple of deadlines still to come where they can correct it.
Okay.
And because we have one precinct with 3 voters, 5 commissioners, 3 voters. And the ironic thing about that, no one showed up to vote all
And
day
so
long.
how much do you pay those commissioners? Because that was the waste of taxpayers' money.
Yep, it was, yeah. And the parish had to pay half and the state pays half when there's a state position in the same election.
Mm-hmm.
So commissioners get 150, commissioner in charge gets 250. So 600, that's about $850 for that particular precinct.
For 3 people
Who didn't vote.
who didn't vote.
Exactly. But I have a meeting Monday with the committee, the parish council president and the registrar of voters, and we're going to try to develop a plan that's satisfactory to the rest of the council members and reduces the congestion at some of the polls and also can consolidate some of those smaller precincts so it'll be more economical.
Okay.
And I'm guessing that we may come out with just a few less than 91 that we started out with. But then again, the council is the one that has to vote on this.
Well, yeah.
See, I was never consulted, or the registrar of voters was never consulted when they drew up the plan to start with. They had a
No,
demographer.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I was there at the time. I was working there. I was over the Delta Grand at the time, and they had the meeting there when they were doing the refiguration of the lines. We forgetting the lines of
And really, it's
the mapping.
it's a really complicated issue.
It caused a lot of problems.
It has, because some people had to drive 20
You had
miles
people
to
that
vote,
couldn't vote.
and people around the corner voted around the corner.
That's
so
right.
It seemed like it was a little difficult, but
It was.
hopefully there's a couple of deadlines that aren't there yet. Maybe that can be fixed.
Well, good. We're glad to hear that. We're glad to hear that they're trying to work on that and getting that fixed so
Yeah,
that
and they meant well. It's just a real difficult
right.
process.
Oh yeah. I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that they want to make things right for their constituents.
Yeah, they sure do.
Yeah, I would want to make it right for my constituents
Well,
because
sure.
it depends on if they're going to vote for me again, right?
Exactly.
So I think so. So the school board just did theirs as well.
Yeah, and you see what happens, the school board and the parish council districts are supposed to be identical. And the school board had their election first, so they had to adopt their districts sooner. That's why they changed. The parish council's districts haven't changed yet, but I think they're going to change them in either December meeting or in January meeting.
So here
But
we
they're
go
going to
with
be
the different
identical.
cards.
No, but they're going to be identical to the school board.
So now we back to getting the 5 different cards. No, not 5, but 3 different cards or 2 different cards again to tell us where to go vote.
Probably one more set.
One more set.
Yeah, and that's $60,000 for printing and postage.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. But like I tell the commissioners, the vote is worth every penny you spend on it
Right.
because it's the basis of our whole democracy.
You said a mouthful right there. Democracy.
Right.
Democracy. We don't live in a communist country. We live in a democracy.
We live in a country where everybody's supposed to be equal.
Everybody's supposed to be equal. Freedom of speech. Everything else that goes along with that in the Constitution. You can't violate constitutional rights. So
But you got to vote to maintain them.
you have to vote to maintain them. That's right. You have to vote to maintain them. Let's see what else we were going to discuss today, Mr. Charles.
my Lord.
Oh, I know you're running you have an election coming up, right?
Well, my election's not until November.
That's coming up. That
Well,
comes
it's
fast.
a while, yes.
It comes fast. So you mentioned that earlier during conversation. You were saying about the governor's race, and so I'm guessing all those races are next year, 2023, right?
In November, yeah, the governor, lieutenant governor, all the statewide officials, the parish council, those people. The municipal elections were held already this year, and the legislative elections too are going to be held.
So all those
In November.
elections, really? So all those elections are up. Parish president, assessor, the sheriff, your position, the council, everybody.
Right. Those positions. School board and municipal was already this past November.
Okay, so now you really know how important it is for you to get out and exercise your right to vote. Next year, it's your chance to vote again for Mr. Charlie Jagneaux as your clerk of court, Sheriff Bobby Guidros as your sheriff, and so forth, all the other political,
all the other parish-wide officials,
all the
yes.
officials. So get out there and exercise your right to vote for your choice. I'm not telling you to vote for. I'm just saying.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have more.
What else we have to discuss, Mr. Charles? I met Mr. Charlie Jagneaux working at parish government, and he don't even probably remember that. I was walking in one day, and we was getting ready for a Christmas party, and he walked in and he said, "Well, hello there. I haven't met you. What's your name?" And I said, "My name is Rachel Babineau." He said, "Well, it's nice to meet you, Rachel Babineau. You are a nice face to see around here." And I've never forgot that. And I said, "Well, thank you, Mr. Charlie." And then after that, every time I would see him, I would make sure that I would run to him and say, "Hey, Mr. Charlie."
Yeah, well, part of my job is public relations.
Yeah,
so,
and you're good at it. You're good at it. You're good at it. You have a good team, Miss Deborah and Miss Lisa.
I am so fortunate that
Yes, you do.
the staff that I have are fantastic. And I have to take my hat off to Deborah Sostan in particular for handling all of the election issues. Because this election has been one of the most difficult ones we've ever had.
Yes.
Let me explain something. On the voting machines that we have now, we have what they call a full-face ballot. So with this redistricting, some people don't vote on everything that's on that ballot. So we have to set a lockout on that machine so they can only vote what's in that district that applies to them. And we had 77 different lockouts. Okay, 77. The most we've ever had before was like 15.
Wow.
And this election, although it was a semi-low turnout, there were still 28,000 some odd voters that voted. With 77 lockouts, those commissioners really, you have to hand it to them because they had to sit there all day and concentrate and make that work. We did have some mistakes on that. They punched the wrong button, perhaps. But when you consider the complicated issues that we had, like I said, 77 different lockouts and that many voters, I'm hoping that we can resolve all of that and get a lot lower number of lockouts, make it easier. Because if we don't correct this, we're going to have 77 lockouts for 10 years. Because this reapportionment takes effect and it goes into effect for the next 10 years.
So when you say lockout, explain to the audience, because I'm pretty sure they're not quite sure what you mean when you tell them a lockout.
Okay, we have to set the machine for each individual voter, especially if there's overlapping districts, or if one machine handles two different districts, okay? Person's only eligible to vote in one, so they press a button that locks out the stuff that they're not supposed to vote on for that other one. And that's where mistakes can happen with those commissioners that sit there all day long operating those machines. And it's my fault, I imagine, for not training them enough, but it's a hard job to do all day long with that complicated an issue. The lockouts, like I said, are the way you set the machines for each individual voter.
But then if you just only had to deal with 15.
Normally.
Now you have 77?
And there were 15 was a lot back then.
Yeah, that's a big
With
jump.
the new districting, it's going to be a problem. But hopefully we can at least reduce that number and maybe reduce the number of precincts and make it easier for people to access the poll, because to me, it's important. It all goes to turnout, like you talked about. The less complicated we make things make voting for people, the easier we make it for them to vote. The location of the polls is one thing. It's the distance that they have to travel. That affects turnout. And the better turnout that we have, the better it is for the whole parish. Because on the statewide level, they'll listen to us if we have a higher turnout. People in Baton Rouge, they count votes, and that's IT. There's no sentiment involved. It's all about the number of votes.
It's all about the numbers, right? Well, let me just share this with you. We're going to make sure that we can get every person out to vote. We can't get everybody, but we're going to make sure in this next election in 2023, Black Voters Matter is going to be in our community. We're going to be pushing the black vote, making sure that the African American community get out there and vote, exercise their right to vote. We're going to be discussing why it's so important, and just making sure that they try and go and vote.
And maybe on another program we can talk about the mail-in ballots, because that's very important.
Yes.
The way they have to make sure everything is filled in correctly, have witnesses, and
Well, go ahead. Let us know. Tell us.
well, I don't have an example of the ballot
Oh,
here
okay.
today.
All right.
But
Okay.
but the flap that's on that the
Mm-hmm.
ballot envelope, make sure that you look at each one of those blanks and fill them out correctly.
Okay.
If you can't sign your name, just put your X and get a witness and get the witness to sign that.
Okay.
Or if you can, you still have to have a witness.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And you have to put your mother's maiden name on it to make sure that you're the one that's voting. And mail it in.
And mail it in.
Oh, yeah.
Or you can drop it off.
Yeah, or
right?
you can drop it off, correct.
You
Yeah.
can drop it off, or you can mail it in. Okay.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
All right. So it was nice talking with you, Mr.
Well, same
Charles.
here. I enjoyed it.
I very much enjoyed it. And
Okay.
you know what? Maybe you could come back and you can bring that ballot
Right,
before-
we can review it.
Yes, and we can review it, and we can just let them know exactly what not to do and what to do. Make sure that they're aware. We can just put it up and let them see
Oh, yeah.
a well filled out ballot.
Very important.
Very
Because
important.
the mail-in ballots and the early voting are more important nowadays because everybody's taking advantage of it.
Right, right. They are. I know with my parents, I had to have them on mail in ballots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that counts as just as much as a machine ballot.
it does.
Yeah.
Well,
Important.
it's very important. So look for Mr. Charlie. He's gonna be returning to the Foundation of My Color, letting you know about the importance of voting, letting us know what's going on with the redistricting, with the combination with the school board, right?
Right.
Okay, so we're gonna bring them back and let them explain to us what's going on, and hopefully we won't have all these issues we had with the last election with the 3 different cards. You having to vote all over the place and not knowing where to go vote, and then when you get there,
I don't know if that's going to be corrected by this runoff, but hopefully before the next one.
but well, I'm pretty sure they're gonna make sure it's done before their election.
Yeah. You're right.
Well, you just have to call it like it is.
Well, that
I'm pretty sure it's gonna be done before
they count their votes too, and they
Yes,
in making sure that
that's
they get
right.
their votes.
That's right. That's right. So, well, thank you so much. The foundation of My Color is founded on the Word. We stand on the Word, nothing but the truth. So help us God. We thank you so much, Mr. Charlie, for joining us.
Well, thank
and it's always a pleasure to have you. Welcome back anytime.
Sure. Thank you a lot. I enjoyed it.
All right. Foundation of My Color, Rachel Babineau. Today is
The
let me
2nd of
the
December.
2nd of December. Oh, look forward to our Christmas. We're going to be having, let me let you know what's going on for the rest of the month. So the rest of the month, we're going to be having, we're going to be celebrating Christmas. We have to celebrate Christmas here. So what we're going to do, our next guest is Miss Skylar Jenkins Thomas. She's going to be coming in and just telling us about different things going on in the community where she serves as a mental health person. Also, we're going to have a kids special. Tune into that. That's going to be one of my favorite specials. We're going to have kids here. We're going to be giving away prizes. Also, we're going to have Apostle here for our very last show in December. So stay tuned to the Foundation of My Color. God bless everyone, and thank you for tuning in. Up next, we're going to have prophetess Dana Lorette Broussard. She'll be with us in about 10 minutes. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you.
Right.